first speaker event in the spring semester. So this is one of the our biweekly meetings for the students who are parents. I'm Joy Betts. I'm the academic success coach and the advisor for SWAP. So today we're honored to have our speaker, Mr. Steve Ellison, to talk about scholarship opportunities, and followed by Q&A. So please be prepared to ask your questions at the end of his speech. So just a brief introduction for those who are new to SWAP. This organization is open to all TCC student parents. So we need moms and dad to participate, and so there are three sorts of fundings for this event. There's TCC Student Life funding for SWAP, and TCC Foundation and Women's Foundation of Oklahoma. So our goal is to support student parents through different challenges for life and studies, life and college balance, and that's why we're here. Okay, so let me see. So at the end of this session, we're going to have a SWAP short meeting. It's going to be brief because our events are staffed with this semester we have different events. Some are designed just for SWAP networking. So again, thank you for participation. Again, just a short reminder, as the Academic Coaching Office offers different resources to help you balance your school and life, to help you set your goals for the semester, and different kinds of resources. So I would send you our let's see, we have a LASSI that's paid by TCC. It's going to help you assess your strength and weakness in learning. So don't forget to utilize these resources available to you. Just a few tips here. There are some deadlines here. February 25th is the last day to withdraw or change from credit to audit for 8-week sessions. And March 14th is the spring break. And second week starts March 21st. March 28th is the summer and fall priority enrollment opens for students with 30+ hours. And April 1st is the deadline to file for graduation. So if you are about to graduate at the end of this semester, don't forget to contact your advisor. Make sure to file for graduation. So yes, Steve is going to talk about this. As I have mentioned, there are some funds set aside for student parents for you to apply. So we're glad to have Stephen here today. Just a reminder, from the Women's Foundation, we had this weekend back to rent program for our student parents. So make sure to contact me. I'm at Northeast Monday through Thursday. You can come by to check it out. And we have a logbook for you to sign, and this would be really good for you to spend quality time with your children. So at last, if Janica would like to cover the, Janica, by the way, is our student president, and today we also have a few other e-board members, Jassy, Shang, and some other key members here, officers. Thank you for coming. So yeah, this is my slide here, and next let's welcome Stephen Ellison, our financial aid director, to introduce his resources. Let's see, I'm going to stop my sharing.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. So I want to talk to you guys about basically ways that you can stack free money. So you're a college student, that means it's no such thing as too much free money coming in. There are limits to how much financial aid you can get because you're going to college. So ideally, you want to stack that as high as you can with free money. So I'm going to show you kind of how to financial aid better. So let's start with the FAFSA process. So your FAFSA is your free application for federal student aid. And when you apply for the FAFSA, you're applying for all kinds of things, and not just federal student aid, but you start with your grants. So grants are your free money. You also are applying for student loans. Now, whether you take the loans or not is up to you. Typically, you have to be at least half-time for student loans, but that is an option for some students. Work study as well. So work study is a federal job program that the school administers, and it's basically part-time positions around the college. And it's considered financial aid because the government is paying basically your salary on that. So, and then there's also scholarships, both internal and external scholarships. And we'll go into some different ways to find scholarships as well here in a second. All right, so let's talk about the FAFSA application process. So most of you hopefully have already submitted a FAFSA, but if you haven't, you go to studentaid.gov, or you can use the My Student Aid mobile app. You want to start that process on October 1st every year, and we'll get into kind of how and when and why you want to do that early. So when you do a FAFSA, and especially if you're getting close to transferring to a 4-year, just remember that you can actually add multiple colleges to your FAFSA. Once you do a FAFSA, you want to keep doing the FAFSA every academic year or every calendar year as close to October 1st as you possibly can. The new FAFSA comes out on October 1st. It will use income information from 2 years prior in order to kind of determine what you qualify for. So when you submit the FAFSA, some of you may have realized that you don't really need to do much else. And some of you may have found that there's a lot of things you have to do. It really is individual to the student. So when the federal government processes those FAFSAs, they determine who has to do extra stuff. And typically that means you have to turn in documentation because the school is required to confirm that certain information on your FAFSA is correct. That process is called verification, and it can change from student to student exactly what we ask for. So we'll notify you if you're one of those students that has to do something extra, and we'll talk about how to do that as well. But if you, just a reminder, if you ever have questions about the process, really come in and talk to us or hop on our Zoom link. I'll give links at the end. We're here to it can be complicated, and we're here to help you through that process. Oh, okay, so you submitted the FAFSA. What do you do now? So again, some students are going to be required to verify that information on the FAFSA is correct. And we'll request the documents we'll need because the feds will say, hey, on this student, you need to verify this information. On this student, you need to verify this information. And that determines kind of what we request from you. When you do your FAFSA, a FAFSA lasts for 1 academic year. So at TCC, our academic year starts with the fall semester, and it goes fall, spring, and then the following summer. So that FAFSA covers you for that 1 academic year. So every academic year, you're going to need a new FAFSA. Fall rolls around, that's a new academic year, you need a new FAFSA. You also have a financial aid scholarships, why do I keep going backwards here? You also have a financial aid and scholarships dashboard that corresponds to each academic year as well. So each FAFSA has its own dashboard, and that's because the requirements can be different from year to year. So you may have to go through that verification process 1 year, but not the next. Real quick, while you're in here, where you go to your dashboards, the scholarships application is actually out right now for 22-23. So that would start next fall, but through February 25th, so that's coming up quickly, that application is already showing where you go into your dashboard, and it's 1 application. We'll talk about scholarships here in a second, but it's 1 application for all of the TCC Foundation scholarships, which there's quite a few of them. So your financial aid dashboard will really guide you through the financial aid process for that year. Tell you if you have missing requirements, It'll give you your aid eligibility for the next semester at the end of each semester, and we'll talk about that a little here in a second. And it also is where you're going to see your awards and what you qualified for. All right, so when you do the FAFSA, what are you applying for? So you're applying for the Pell Grant. You're applying for loans and work study, like I said, but you're also applying for stuff that you may not have heard of. There's other grants besides just the main Pell Grant. There's SEO, the supplemental grant, it's called SEOG, the Oklahoma Tuition Aid Grant. You're also applying for other state and institutional aid, such as tuition waivers. And a lot of scholarships like to have a FAFSA as well, because some of them may be based on financial need, which the FAFSA will determine. So you really want to do that FAFSA, again, as early as you can each year, after starting in October 1st. All right, so why do you want to do it early? So when it comes to things like the main federal aid, like Pell Grant or student loans, it doesn't really matter when you do the FAFSA. If you qualify, you can get it. It's fine. If you do it the first day it's available or the last day it's available, the amount would still be the same. But there's other things out there, and the key to stacking free money is to do everything early. So the early bird really does get the worm when it comes to financial aid at most schools. And most schools will build into how they package those additional funds the initial FAFSA submission date. So that's where you want to do things super early. So set a reminder on your smartphone every October 1st. That's your FAFSA day. Do that FAFSA, get it knocked out, and then follow up and see if you're missing requirements. Get that done early in spring or late in fall when those requirements show up. And then you can be first in line when it comes time to handing out those additional funds. So, you know, here's three that and there's more out there as well. Here's three: the SEOG, tuition waivers, and Oklahoma Tuition Aid Grant. This year, if you did everything super early and qualified, you may have gotten all three of those, and that's an extra approximately $3,000 that can stack on top of your Pell Grant. So again, it's not an insignificant amount of money that's out there. But you really want to do everything early. Now, these other types of funds are a limited amount of funds, and that's why you want to do it early. They're not like Pell Grant. Pell Grant's authorized by Congress, you know, if the money's there for students. But these other funds are a limited amount of funds. Each school has a different amount, and they have to prioritize that packaging somehow. So, and that's where most schools will at least have initial FAFSA submission date in their rules for how those funds are packaged to students or given to students. So right now, if you haven't done it, the 22-23 FAFSA is out there right now. When you go to studentaid.gov to do your FAFSA or the My Student Aid app, you'll see two FAFSAs available to do: the 21-22 FAFSA, which is for your current academic year, and then the 22-23 that will start taking over your financial aid this coming fall, in fall 2022. It's going to use 2020 tax information. And we highly recommend that you also use the optional IRS data retrieval tool. It makes everything easier. And if you are one of those people that has to do extra stuff, it makes that verification, makes that whole process easier. It'll actually load in your information straight from the IRS. The school takes it as gospel. It won't show on the FAFSA site, but it does send the school the information that they need securely in order to continue processing the FAFSA. This October 1st, 2022, the 23-24 FAFSA will come out, and that will use 2021 income. And again, you want to do that as early as possible. All right, what else should I know when it comes to aid eligibility? Well, the first thing is the courses have got to count towards your program of study. So whatever your major is, if you're a double major, it has to count towards your major to qualify for payment on all federal aid. That includes Pell Grant, includes student loans, the federal supplemental grant, all that stuff. It really looks for that. Some people may have Tulsa Achieves. If they have that, it also wants the courses to count into the program. SAP. So in your dashboard, in step 2 of your dashboard, so step 1 will be any missing requirements you might have. Step 2 will be your eligibility for the next semester, eligibility and any holds you might have. So the eligibility comes down to, it's called SAP, or Satisfactory Academic Progress. And you can think about it like this. It is the academic requirements just for financial aid recipients. And a lot of funds do want you to be eligible with SAP in order to qualify for payment. So there's a couple of requirements that you have to maintain. Basically, you have to pass about 2/3 of the classes that you're in, and you have to maintain through your first 30 hours a 1.7 GPA, and after that it's a 2.0 GPA. So it's not bad. Also, your GPA for this purpose can be different than the GPA in your transcript. And the reason for that is some students will retake classes to get better grades, or schools will use things like academic renewal, academic amnesty to help you graduate on your transcript. But in financial aid, we're not allowed by the Department of Education to use, to consider any of that. So for us, every grade counts, including developmental courses. And that's why you have a separate GPA just for financial aid. So that can help or hurt you depending on how you do in those courses. But let's say you take a class and get a D, and then you retake it to get a better grade and you get an A. And your financial aid GPA, both that D and the A will both be in there. So just keep that in mind. But your eligibility, you'll see in step 2 of your dashboard. We calculate that at the end of each semester, and that'll tell you your eligibility for the next semester. Okay, 2 big things that you can do to help yourself. Check your account, your dashboard, and watch for email communications from us. There you'll find that you may find that sometimes the rules change in the middle of a year and we need something from students. So if you're watching that dashboard from time to time, you'll realize that. We'll also email you if we have requirements that we need. But also there can be aid opportunities that pop up, for instance, and we'll talk a little bit about emergency grants here in a second, but in fall, we were able to put out HERF emergency grants for applications for students, and we communicated with students. A lot of students responded, but a lot of students didn't. And if you were watching an email, you definitely would have been able to get in on that. Again, I just can't stress this enough. Complete the process early, because that is really how the best thing you can do for yourself to stack free money. All right, so I just touched a little bit on the HERF grants for fall, but I wanted to talk a little bit about this because it's a big topic of conversation. But HERF grants. So HERF stands for the Higher Education Emergency Relief Fund. And if you you may remember that Congress passed the CARES Act a few years ago after the pandemic, and had 2 associated acts that were passed since then, and HERF comes from that. And it is a block grant given to the school. That is split into a couple of different ways that TCC is using that. TCC is using their institutional share to wipe out balances for students, and then also our student share, which is on the portion that is given out as grants. We're doing 2 different things with it this semester. We'll have block grants that we just award to students, and then we'll also have an emergency fund that we're making available. We did this in fall as well, but we'll have new applications come out. We're targeting around February 14th, so that's coming up soon, in order to have these out there. If you indicate on your if you're one of the people that got the HERF grant, and there's a form associated with that, if you indicated that you had COVID related expenses or need emergency help, we actually would put the application automatically in your financial aid dashboard and your missing requirements. If you're not, you can talk to us if you need emergency assistance, and we can add that application for you. So for students who need additional emergency grant assistance, we can help you with tuition, course fees, covering your books and supplies costs, housing, food expenses, personal expenses, transportation, childcare. If you need to get a laptop for online classes, healthcare, including mental health care, those are all things that we can consider, expenses that we can consider to help you with. The application is not hard, especially if you've done the FAFSA. It's a quick and easy application. You just tell us the expenses you need assistance with, and then we'll award as much as we can of that. But again, those applications are coming out here the 14th, so you're looking at next week. Let's talk about scholarships. So with scholarships, most scholarships will have a separate application. Most scholarships application periods start in the late fall. They're usually due early spring for the following year. So again, for instance, the one I brought up with the TCC Foundation, that's right where you go into your dashboard. That's due February 25th again. So, but that application actually came out last fall. And that'll be for scholarships for the next academic year starting this fall. Most scholarship application periods are done super early as well. Outside scholarships, that's another great place to look for scholarships. Go to the TCC website, and if you just type scholarships in the search box, it will bring up our scholarships page when we have links to outside resources. If you do have outside scholarships, those are processed through the bursar's office, but also local organizations, workplaces, things like that. You might be surprised who has scholarships available. So you want to explore all opportunities that you have. I'll put these up in the links when we're done here, or in the chat, these links, and I'll send them along as well. But I just wanted to provide some links. OK College Start is basically state of Oklahoma, and they have links to look up Oklahoma scholarships, including single parent scholarships. There's multiple ones in there right now that have not, the application period is not expired yet. The TCC Foundation scholarships, you can look through the list of those and see what you might qualify for. But again, you only have to do the one application that's right where you go into your financial aid dashboard, and that will put you in the running for all of their scholarships. So the entire list, it's one application. And then also on our scholarships page, you can see some actual scholarship search engines as well that we link to. And for outside scholarships, you kind of have to do the legwork on those, but you want to make sure that you're doing your due diligence to stack that free money. So this was where I went to OK College Start. So if you just go to the scholarships link and just type it in the search box, and if there's other things that you think you might qualify for, such as your major, you can type that in there as well and see what's available in Oklahoma. But you really want to get on that ASAP, because deadlines will be coming up for a lot of scholarships, and again, including ours, which is February 25th. All right, if you need assistance with the FAFSA, or if you're selected for verification, or if you're just not sure how something works, come see us. We have financial aid offices at all 4 major campuses. You can email us at tccfinancialaid@tulsacc.edu. We have a Zoom room every day. We can assist you virtually if that's more convenient for you. And we have financial aid advisors in there to help students as well. If you have general questions about financial aid, you can use the Call 2000 service. That's not necessarily us in financial aid, but they have a wide range of knowledge about different things. So that is what I have. And again, I'll put those links in the chat.
Thank you so much, Steve. Having a college child myself, I realized I'm delayed in doing the FAFSA. I need to hurry up. That's why I keep taking pictures of your things. So thanks for sending the link. And
yeah, I can send you the presentation.
Okay, I'll make sure I forward it to our participants today. So next, we're going to leave some time for our student parents to ask questions. Q&A section.
Absolutely. Bring it.
Feel free to turn on your video if you like, everybody.
I promise I won't buy it. And I'll tell you now, there is no such thing as a bad question when it comes to financial aid, because I guarantee if you're thinking of it, 12 other people are also thinking of that same question. So hit me with anything you got. Financial aid can be very complicated and it's very individual to the student. Just because you have one experience in the process, another student very similar to you could have an entirely different experience. It really kind of depends. I've seen cases where siblings had qualified for different things. So, and you wouldn't think that would be the case, but it can be.
So it's one application for everyone, right?
So yeah, your FAFSA, it's the same application for everybody. There are some big changes coming to the FAFSA here in a few years, but for now, it's pretty much been the same for quite a while. The good news is the FAFSA does get easier after the first time you do it. It also uses something called skip logic, which keeps it from showing you questions that it's already figured out don't apply to you. And then here in by 24-25, the academic year, Congress passed what's called in the last thing where they did HERF, they passed what's called the FAFSA Simplification Act. And that is going to greatly simplify the FAFSA application and change what everything looks like. So there's changes coming down the pike. Hopefully it should make it easier for students as well. So that'll be a good thing.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, this is a great opportunity to ask Steve a question, right? So I know, I have another question. I know the Women's Foundation grant for the single parents are all administered by Bursar or financial aid this semester.
Yeah, I believe that goes through the Bursar, yeah. So yeah, some scholarships are routed through the Bursar's office. It kind of depends on the funding source. If it's an internal funding source, a lot of times it'll route through us. If it's an external source, especially if it has to be billed, it'll route through the Bursar's office. Either way, it will, I said earlier, I touched on this a little bit. There's only so much financial aid you can get because you're going to school. So I can expound on that a little bit. So what I'm referring to is called your cost of attendance cap. And think of it like this. It's like a cup. So is your cost of attendance cap. So we're going to fill that cup with as much money as we can. We're going to start with the free money, and then if you still have room after we run out of free money to give you, we'll offer you things like student loans. And things are, not quite as good as the free money. But if it's money you're getting because you're going to school, regardless of the source, and it could be, from the federal government like Pell or student loans, or it could be institutional aid or state aid, or could be from an outside resource like a scholarship, or some people get tribal grants. If it's money you're getting because you're going to college, it can't go over the top of that cup. That top of your cup is your cost of attendance cap. So again, that's why you want to stack free money though, because you can only get so much. And it's based on various factors, including your age, whether you're independent on FAFSA or have to have parent information on the FAFSA, how many hours you're in, how long your classes are. There's a lot of ingredients that go into that cost of attendance cap. Money you're getting because you're going to college, it has to fit inside that cup. And if you go over, that's called an over award, and that has to be resolved. And it typically means, either you can't get something or, but typically we'll always do everything we can to ensure that, if you have additional free money come in after we've already filled the cup, we'll swap that out for something bad, like maybe loan offers or things like that. We'd rather you have the free money. I'm assuming you would rather have the free money than something like loans as well.
Great, thank you so much. So as far as the emergency fund for the single parents, for student parents, is there any recommendation letter needed from our office?
Now, yeah, if the Bursar is handling that, it would be up to them, but I don't know that because we don't handle that fund. I will say on our end, the emergency funds on our end, the HERF grant, That's really just an application process. There would be two forms. If you haven't got it before, there'd be two forms that they would have to do. One is an authorization form. We highly recommend that you authorize on that form because that'll allow us to give it to you. And then for the additional grants beyond just the regular HERF grants, for the emergency grants, there's an application as well. If you've done a FAFSA, that application again is pretty straightforward and easy. The biggest part will be just listing amounts that you need to receive. Those things that I listed that it can cover, we give an amount for each one, so you could request, I need $500 for a laptop, $500 for rent, or whatever. And then again, we'll have a limit on how much we can get out once we kind of see what kind of applications we get in. Our goal is to get all of that money to students as fast as we can. And then once we award, it'll start going out and refund to the student. If you already have other aid that's covering your bill, your tuition and fees, then it'll just refund straight to the student. So again, we highly recommend you authorize on the HERF authorization form, and that will allow us to consider you for the grant.
Thank you, Steve. Again, I think on the chat, Jessie has asked about the HERF grant form.
So
where can she find it?
The forms would be in your financial aid dashboard. They are not quite out yet. If you got it in fall, you will not need to redo the authorization form. And we'll be putting out, next week, we should be putting out applications. If you don't receive an application and have additional needs from this semester, just contact us. Either hit us up on the DCC email, financial aid email address, which again, it'll be at the end of the presentation that I'll send out, and we can get that added for you. And it'll go right into your financial aid dashboard, missing requirements. Make sure you're looking at the correct dashboard. So it'd be for this academic year, which is 2021, 2022.
Thank you. That's a good question, Jessie. Steve, I think it would be great if you could attach it here to the chat box, those links also, because we have a large number of student parents who would watch the recording.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Any other questions? All right. Of course, you have Mr. Steve's contact information and financial aid, so feel free to contact him. He's very resourceful and helped me also today. So thank you again. Let's give him a applause. Thank you.
I put the links in the chat.
Yes, thank you. That's wonderful. It's going to be very helpful because in our orientation on January 25th, we do have a few students ask me a few questions, and I'm glad you clarified it today, because there are different sorts of resources to help your group.
Yeah, there are a lot of resources out there. Just remember, sometimes with the the funds that aren't processed through the school, you have to, as a student, have to do a little legwork on those, but it's worth your time, because again, you want to fill that cup with as much free money as you can. And that's really, remember, on most funds, if you have more than you need to cover your tuition and fees or any books and charge and supplies you charge, that goes into your pocket, and that money is there to help you with living expenses. It is there to help you pay rent or mortgage. It is there to help you, with your transportation costs. It is there to help you with food expenses and things like, helping you buy a laptop if you need it. So the money's out there. You just have to do a little legwork on some of it.
Thank you. I do suddenly remember a question. If someone has missed this year's application, can they still do it?
For the FAFSA? Yeah. So the FAFSA opens up, like I said, October 1st every year, but it is available to do for the current academic year up through the end of June. At the end of June, they close it to new applications. And there's reasons why, basically. I don't know how far I need to go in the weeds on that. It has to do with the aid year that the federal government sets. It runs July 1st to June 30th. So once that aid year closes, which is different than an academic year, and you don't need to worry about it. Just know that it's available through the end of June. And then you can't do a new FAFSA for the current academic year after that, but you can still do the next one. So right now you can still do 21-22. I do not recommend you wait till the end to do that, because if you are selected for verification, you're going to have additional steps that you have to complete on a short timeline in order to receive aid.
Great, thank you so much, Steve.
No problem.
And is there any other questions from everybody? You can type it here if you have questions.
Sure.
Okay, since I didn't see, thank you. Okay, there's a comment from Jonica. She said, thank you, Stephen. You provided valuable information. So true.
I hope that
So
helps.
great, thank you. And I'm sure we will invite you back. I know that this is a very rare opportunity for us to meet here on this Zoom room. So that's being said, we're gonna conclude this Q&A section. And feel free to chat if you remember any questions for Steve. And so I know, Steve, you're very busy, and feel free to sign off if you prefer. Next, we're going to move on to the SWAP short meeting with the e-board and members, because we do have information to share with everyone. So let me see. Moving on to, let's see. Oh, let's see. Go on there. Okay, so I'm gonna hand the mic to Jonica, our SWAP president.
Thank you, Joy. I'll try to talk. I'm kind of still losing my voice. I am still getting over the bronchitis and pneumonia.
Sorry to hear about that.
Well, thank you.
Hope
The
you
doctor
recover
said it'd take about 6 to 8 weeks when I was in the
okay,
hospital.
with the antibiotic.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Hope you feel better soon.
Thank you. It's not as bad as it was. I was really horrible there for several weeks. Yeah, so thank you everyone for coming today. I'm not sure if Stephen is still with us. No, looks like he left. I don't know if you all seen in the chat, but if you could please put your T number, that way Jazzy can record everyone as being present today. We record this on the Presence website that TCC has set up. It not only counts, keeps your extracurricular activities for you in a nice, convenient little place. That way, when some other colleges, if you transfer to them, they like to know what extracurriculars you do. So the Presence website keeps that all. Plus, it looks good for a SWAP. It shows how active we are. I do have a little announcement to make. Our Spring of Fling for SGA that was scheduled for February 11th has been canceled because of everything with COVID. They were just taking extra precautions. So that is no longer going to happen. We do have a few places on the executive board that we do need to fill. We were going to vote today on some new members. But I'm not sure if everyone who wanted to run is here today. Sorry, I'm trying so hard to talk. Thank y'all for bearing with me as my voice comes and goes. We do need to work on recruiting new members. We were going to do some tabling events and everything for recruiting. Unfortunately, school was shut down because of all the snow that we got. I hope everyone was able to stay safe during that time. Thank you, Jazzy. We do appreciate that. If any of you do have in-person classes, I highly recommend you make an announcement. Just ask your professors, maybe shoot them an email, be like, hey, can I have 5 minutes before or after class to talk about my organization? Most of the time, professors will allow you to do this. You'll notice that a lot of the professors on campuses, they are really helpful when it comes to organizations, and they want to help promote all the organizations that TCC is affiliated with. And then we do have this spring carnival coming up on April 1st. We need to decide what we want our booth to be. If anyone has any ideas, feel free to unmute yourself and talk about it. I know many of you aren't able to unmute yourself today. Jazzy, do you need my team number? Oh, I'm sorry, who was that?
I think it was me that shared my screen. I mean, unmuted myself. Yes, I do need. No, I remember your team number. So
Okay.
we should be okay. Maybe we can do. I don't have no ideas right now because I didn't know that Swap was going to be at the event. But maybe I could like look on Pinterest and stuff to see like things that we could possibly have a booth for, maybe, and then we could discuss in the e-board if necessary.
Okay. This is just kind of popped into my head. One on the screen Joy has up, the little colored ring made me think of a ring toss.
That would be fun. Yeah, I like that.
Okay, so that's just an idea. If you want to keep looking on Pinterest, feel free to. I just that popped up in my head when I seen that ring shape from her PowerPoint.
Oh, by the way, I'm sorry, Jesse, go ahead.
I know Walmart has those bean tosses too, and they're only like $10. And I think I might have one for our family cookouts every year. So I might get look at my mom's garage to see if I have one of those, and maybe we could do that as well.
Oh, I just remembered if you guys want to use certain things in the mom's rental bag for certain events, you can. So we have different games you can use it. The main thing is we got to make sure to clean it well before we return it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have the different things. Let me see. One of them is this kicking.
Oh, like a
what
hacky
is?
sack.
Yeah, hacky sack. Yeah, a lot of kids like this. So if you want to have those, we have them in the mom's bag. So
I
you may
wonder
want
if we
to.
could use some of our funding to like have prizes for like the kids or something that comes. I don't know if you want to do it prizes for the students or just the kids, or how you all feel about that.
So we can discuss from last orientation, from the orientation event, we were talking about March 22nd for a gathering event with luncheon at Southeast, right?
Yes, I believe that's correct.
The Southeast. So that's one of them. Have we decided on Chick-fil-A?
Chick-fil-A is always awesome by me. Does anyone have any preference?
So feel free to take up a mute if you like. I think some of our participants is working on the side. So yeah, just feel free to talk to Jonica or anybody about that. So there will be a RSVP closer to the event, and then we're planning for these details.
I think we'll go ahead and do Chick-fil-A. Over
Okay.
half of the people have said and previously said
Mm-hmm.
Chick-fil-A works for them.
Right, right. Okay, sounds good. Yeah, so feel free to run your ideas to Jonica, and Jonica, come let me know what's everybody's feedback.
Okay, sounds good, Joy. And I believe that was all that I had to talk about today.
Okay, so our next event is the networking event here. Can you see the screen, everyone?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so the networking event is just our meeting without a speaker. I'm sure everybody want to know each other, and we have different participants. Looks like different students' availability. Once it differs for every event. So Jonica and the e-board, feel free to discuss what you're gonna do, or at this. I think I'm gonna stop the recording now.